right, welcome to Citizen Extra right here on Citizen Television. I'm Jeff Koinange. No, this is not JKL. It is Citizen Extra. We're going to be talking about issues that have to do with the race for 2017. Is the race now solidly defined with exactly or just under 2 months to go? My guests today are experts in their respective fields. We're going to have a great discussion. Barack Muluka, journalist, publisher, political analyst, he's in the house. So is Mark Bichachi, political analyst as well. And yes, he doesn't spare anybody or anything, shoots from the hip. It's going to be interesting. And of course, we have Brian Weke right here in the studio. All of them talking about this issue going forward, the election 2017. Is this it? Before I go to my guests, we are live at the KDF Pass-Out Parade at the KDF Recruit Training Center in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. And that's where we find our very own Jackie Maribe. Jackie, if you can hear me, what's the mood like over there?
Right, good morning, Jeff Koinange there in studio. You're right, we are at the Recruits Training School. There will be a pass out here today, presided over by the Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is taking a break from the campaign trail that we have been following him on, and today he will be in active duty as the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. We do understand about 2,600 recruits will be passing out today and basically just being elevated into positions where they will be able to join the broader KDF for country and for flag. We are told that President Uhuru Kenyatta will be making his way here in about 20 minutes. He's expected shortly before 11 a.m. this morning. He will preside over this pass-out parade, and thereafter he will be taking a one-day break, or rather should I say afternoon, just from the campaign trail to attend to party matters back in Nairobi before heading back here to Eldoret to pick up with the campaign trail, or rather the vote hunt that he and his deputy William Ruto. Speaking of which, Jeff, Deputy President William Ruto has led a Jubilee Brigade today to Narok County. He will be in Emurua Dikir. That is where the Jubilee politics of the day will be. We will be updating you, therefore, on matters here at the Pass-Out Parade, as well as the political front that will be in Narok County before they join back tomorrow right here in Uasin Gishu County to endear themselves to the electorate as they seek a second term. Jeff.
All right, Jackie Maribe there live for us in LD, Eldoret Town, Uasin Gishu County. Hot politics over there between the governor and the independent candidate. It is going to be pretty tricky there. There's a lot of heat and tension there, Jackie, isn't there?
Defense headquarters. Staff officer.
Right, Jeff, please take that again. I couldn't get you.
I was just saying, Jackie, Uasin Gishu County, already the election is heating up between Mandago, the incumbent, and a young aspiring independent called, popularly known as Buzeki.
Right, indeed, Jeff, and this is something that, we will be keen on, we'll be keeping an eye on, rather, particularly tomorrow, because the votant will be across Uasin Gishu County. But it's important for me to mention that yesterday, as they left Trans Nzoia County and crossed over to Uasin Gishu County, although it was a bit late, we had some very interesting sentiments from the Deputy President, who, as you very well know, the governor here, Jackson Mandago, has been accusing of being behind the push for Buzeki. The DP yesterday telling the electorate at Moy's Bridge, as the convoy made its way into Eldoret Town, that they should essentially vote for all Jubilee candidates. What that means, therefore, Mandago being a Jubilee candidate, is that he is removing himself from this, back and forth that has been there between himself and the accusations that he is the push behind Buzeki. Buzeki's, candidature, and he basically told the electorate, and this is something that we will be keen on hearing tomorrow as they tour Uasin Gishu, whether or not he will convince them that it is important to quote-unquote vote for a six-piece, and that of course means a push behind Mandago. Mandago was in that particular convoy. Buzeki was not. We are waiting to see whether or not we will see him tomorrow, but it is a question of course of concern, particularly for the party hierarchy and for matters Uasin Gishu, as Mandago has been on record publicly saying that he will not support anyone who is going independent. If you are in Jubilee, you are either in or you shape out. But this is something, Jeff, that we will keep an eye on today, but it will really come out tomorrow from these Jubilee leaders as they tour this county. Jeff.
No, indeed, Jackie, with just 2 months, just under 2 months to go before the general election, what's the mood like there in Eldoret, in Uasin Gishu? What's the general mood like?
Right, this is basically, the DP's turf. They received a rousing welcome, if I would put it like that, compared to, other places that we have been following them on. This particular one in Trans-Nzoia, crossing over to Uasin Gishu County, has so far been the strongest, even if numbers were to speak. The kind of people that we saw even on the road, even as late as 8 p.m., just waiting to get their sights on the president and the deputy. But Jeff, in politics we always say the turnout during these campaign periods does not particularly say the turnout at the ballot, and therefore the work is on them. It is their job to endear themselves to the electorate that these numbers that they are seeing should translate to the ballot come August 8th. Will they be able to do that in the 2 short months that they have? That is something now that is up completely to them. We have seen crowds, Jeff, if I would tell you, in Kisii County, Nyamira County, Bungoma, Kakamega. We were in Nakuru, Nyandarua, and Laikipia last week. Now Trans-Nzoia yesterday, and Uasin Gishu for the next 3 days. The 3 days will be ending tomorrow. We cross over to Bungoma as we follow them on this campaign trail. The numbers, yes, you will see on the ground, but then it is a question of whether or not they are convincing the electorate enough to come out and vote come August 8th. Jeff.
Indeed, Jackie. Jackie Maribe there, looking good in red in Eldoret Town, Uasin Gishu County. Thank you. Keep us posted as we continue on throughout the day. Now, on to the discussion. We're talking about the race for 2017. Is the race defined? By the way, today, midnight, is the deadline for verification of your vote. If you haven't done it, do it so that there will be no problem come August the 8th. If I can go straight, by the way, we've been joined by Vincent Kimosop, yet another political analyst, so it's a full house today. Vincent, let me start with you since we're with you right now. Yeah. IEBC, would you say, is IEBC ready for these elections?
Thanks, Jeff, for having me. I will be a little moderated in that because I was one of the finalists who applied to be a commissioner at the IEBC. You remember, I was the first one to be interviewed, so it might sound like I am complaining, but I think we also have the integrity and the courage to call things as they are. I believe, Jeff, that as the commission currently needs to engage the public more, particularly in pushing and demonstrating an environment of readiness. I can tell you so far, the public are thirsting for more information from the IEBC, where they are, as in, they need to engage the members of the public more, and particularly projecting confidence. If you can look at the commission currently, they look like they're people under siege, and particularly because of the political pressure that has been pushed to them. But I think, if you know very well, it is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Today, we see more of the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The word independent seems not to be what we are seeing. They need to move from the hard approach. You see the chairman together with the commissioners, they are moving from one event to another. They need to distribute, there are 7 of them, so that they engage Kenyans and really show that they are ready for this thing. At times, perception in politics can mean a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Vincent, you mentioned an important word there, confidence. We've just been watching the UK elections. Barack, I'm coming to you. UK elections, people went, voted, the electoral body returned the votes, boom, they announced, and that was it. Question is, do we have confidence in our electoral body?
Oh, we have failed, Jeff, to build institutions that we can have confidence in, institutions that can serve the country well, whether it is the IEBC or other independent commissions. They do not exude a lot of confidence. Look at the UK, as you say, only 3-4 months ago we did not even know that there were going to be elections. Then Theresa May suddenly calls a snap election, and a few weeks later down the line they have the elections, they're done, and they're moving on. But you look at us here, we are not even just talking about the elections of August. This year we are talking about the elections of 2022 and quarreling about them, and looking at the IEBC in terms of its own preparedness for that. And I agree with Vincent Kimosop here. He doesn't need to worry about being accused of sour grapes and that kind of thing. There's need to call a spade a spade. And if you look at the printing of the ballot papers already, as we sit here, we don't know where they are going to be printed. There's tussling about that. You look at the 45,000 electric kits that are supposed to go to various polling centers across the country. They don't seem to be there. We've heard of about 11,000. You look at the vote tallying and announcement matters. They are still before the courts. So the IEBC has got its assignment cut out. It must build confidence with the public.
Indeed, Barack. Indeed. Mark Bichaji, what is it about us that we are always, like Barack said, we're always in campaign mode? Year on, we're always in campaign mode. Like, you know, we're talking about 2022. We haven't even finished 2017, and we don't seem to even be ready.
The biggest problem with the Kenyan psyche is we are always in panic mode. Why? Because our election cycles are winner takes it all. Everything is up for the sticks, from the price of unga to the price of milk, and everything is political, everything is connected to the politics of the country. In fact, Kenya is the only nation, Jeff, where the president is more popular than a celebrity like yourself. You know, it's our socialites are our politicians. So we've ingrained politics to the DNA of our society that it's almost impossible to have a conversation in bar or in a church without mentioning politics. That's issue number one. Issue number two is we have nothing that is constant in this country. Everything is up for debate. Everything can change on a dime. Yesterday there is unga in the shelves, the next day there is none. The third thing, of course, is the feeling that the election of an individual is about a collection of people called a tribe. That's the biggest lie, because the biggest issue is, if you look at the brand that the politicians carry, none of the politicians carry a brand of what they believe in. None of them believes in anything. And to be honest with you, in this country, if you choose between NASA and Jubilee, you're not choosing between any two ideals. You're just saying who is the better and nicer thief, if I you know, it's a competition between Beelzebub and Lucifer, who's better, you know, and that's why the stakes are so high. And what needs to change in this country is we need to develop a politics and a brand of politicians who actually stand for something, stand for anything. You know, even if you believe in all fences should be green, stand for that. You know, stand for something. We need to stop having the shifting politics that's based on tribes and emotions. Gentlemen, I believe Bichachi just called me a celebrity.
Yes, you can confirm.
You are a celebrity.
All right, Bichachi, you touched on something really good, and I bring in Brian Weke here. The issues in this campaign. The issues. I mean, obviously, UNGA has jumped in. What are the other issues in this campaign?
I think just before I tell you what are the issues, I think I would want to weigh in on the discussion as regards, are we ready for election? Is IEBC ready? You know, Jeff, when NASA were yearning for change within IEBC, the changing of commissioners, one of the key discussions was that we cannot afford to deal with the issues of the Secretariat. Now, as we speak, they have fired the Director of Procurement, they have fired the Director of ICT, and for me, Jeff, I want to state without fear of contradiction that I'm a very worried man. As we speak, clearly 2 directorates have actually been changed. We have fairly new commissioners who don't look like they understand what they are doing. As we speak, again, we are interfering with the Secretariat. Jeff, it is only in this country, and I've said this before, where we start with outputs and we come back to activities. As we speak, we are 2 months to the date, to the next general elections. We have not been able to deliver the audit of the register. We don't know where it is, where we have reached. Even as we speak, and you know, issues of confidence with the commissions are very grave issues. As we speak, we are not even aware why is it that they fired the guy in charge of ICT. As Barack, who is my senior within the electoral profession, has actually said it very clearly that we need to work with Kenyans, and the commission needs to literally work with Kenyans so that we understand. There's a lot of rumors why they've actually sent the ICT director home. There are rumors as regards procurement and entrepreneurship, and you know, issues of procurement in our country. So I'm a very, very worried man. As we speak, I know tomorrow they've invited stakeholders to actually test the kits. Again, how many have they procured? Because we have 45,000 polling stations, which if you're to give 2 kits each, we're looking at 90,000 kits. So, Jeff, I don't want to paint a gloom picture, but as an individual and an expert in electoral matters, I think I'm extremely worried. Yeah. Now, as regards the issues that you've mentioned, I think one, these elections, as I have mentioned before, is a very close election. And I think the issues that will be dealt with, number one is the issue of corruption in this country. I think corruption, where we have reached, we're not even talking about corruption. We are literally talking about looting the country. Issues to do with salt now, Jeff, salt has moved from 15 shillings to 60 shillings. Salt, not even issues of commodities, unga, salt, milk. These days in my house, the last 2 months, my children are yet to, I'm yet to buy milk. We are dealing with strong tea, Jeff. I don't know how you're dealing with your house. So issues of commodities really are grave issues that will determine the outcome of this election.
Just I don't agree with something. I don't agree with something that Brian has pointed out.
Yes.
I can confirm that corruption will not be an issue in this election.
Will or will not?
It will not be an issue. If you look at in 1992, it was multipartism. In 1997, you remember, no reform, no election. In the year 2013, it was 2002, it was a boy must go. In 2007, 42 against 1. And then come 2013, it was the ICC. In this election, it's not, the organizing question hasn't clearly gelled, and to me it will be the issue of inclusivity. Who is able to bring more communities on board, because our biggest political party is the tribe. So anyone who is going to organize more tribes together and show that I'm going to form a government that everybody is on board, then that is likely to carry the day. And I can tell you, Jeff, why corruption will not be an issue is because just look at the two sides of the divide. You know, it has shaped to be a NASA Jubilee contest. All of them have corruption issues. If you remember very well, there are corruption issues on Jubilee. There are also corruption issues on the side of NASA. One of the principles in NASA, the Supreme Court, in a decision that you can go to the registrar, confirm that actually committed an electoral violence offense. Yep. As in, when you talk about corruption, all of them have their stories. From if you the NYS on this side, you can talk about all the corruption you've seen in the last. Then when you go to the other side of NASA, you have the maize issue, the triton issue. You also have kazi kwa vijana. You look at the embassy. As in, corruption therefore cannot be an issue in this election, because everybody has their one of their own that they would want to protect.
Good point there. Good point. Barack, do you agree with this? Do you agree?
I agree entirely with Vincent that in fact the only issue, if I could sum it up that way, is going to be the question of where your tribal leader wants to go. In this country we have got a tribal fat cats, if you may call them that way, and where the tribal fat cat jumps, the tribe jumps with him. The issues may be there for purposes of being a little bit emotive here and there, but those are things that are ring-fenced within specific camps. They will talk about them within the tribal collectivities and enclaves, but they are not going to be issues that are going to win over Kenyans of conscience, who would be reasoning and saying that on the basis of this issue, although my tribal kingpin is saying that we go this way, I will vote in a different matter. In the end, it's tribe, and more tribe.
Mark Bichachi, the Pentagon is constructed out of several tribes. Is that what they were looking for? Are those the numbers they're looking at?
Jeff, you know, this Pentagon is to me a comedy of errors. First, how are you given a job that does not exist within the Constitution? So already it points to you to tell you that these guys, there's something else they're looking at. And I'll tell you for free what they're looking at. They're looking at 2022. They understand that in 2022 it's most likely that Raila Odinga will not be in office. So they've positioned themselves to jostle for positions 1 and 2. That's what it is really about. Now, the bringing in of other people from other tribes is simply to create the PR and the perception that it is a nationalistic organization. Now, the issue of tribe is very funny in this nation, because if we could ever determine the profitability of having a Kikuyu president or a Kalenjin president, which are the only two tribes we've had as presidents, if we could say that Baringo is the richest county today, then I would say the argument of tribe holds. But unfortunately, whenever we play the politics of fear and of hate, we always elect a Trump. That's the issue. It does not matter what IQ they have, it does not matter what their agenda is, but because you are afraid of the other guys who will come and take your job, then you will vote that way. And you know, someone said once, and this is the funniest thing, it says that if someone from another community, another tribe, another nation can come into your community and take your job, you probably didn't deserve it in the first place. You know, that's the place we need to get.
Brian Weke, do you agree with this? This throws everything out the window right here. Do you agree?
You know, Jeff, while I accept the issues of tribe in this country are very pertinent, and people would vote through those tribal lines. However, Jeff, I think reducing this election to an issue of tribe, to me, really is a misnomer, is ill-advised, because this election is quite tight. If you're to look at the numbers, it is extremely tight. And that is the reason why there are certain fundamental issues that have to be dealt with in terms of how you're going to win this election. While I accept that the tribal arithmetic works, you have to look at issues. And you know, if you look at corruption in the past and the corruption now, it has ceased to be an issue of corruption. Now we are literally looting the public. We are literally looting the coffers. We are literally looting the people's money. So for me, the issue of tribal mobilization is one aspect, but you have to sell something different. You have to sell more than your tribe. So again, I want my brother Kimosop to understand that corruption are very grave issues in this country, and corruption is a key indicator of the outcome of this election.
Jeff Koinange, Brian Weke is a Democrat who works for a democratic institution, and I very well appreciate his apprehensions about issues. Certainly he would like this election to be issue-based, but his argument kills itself when he says, for example, that this election is looking very tight. around what is this election tightening? What is tightening this election? What is tightening this election are ethnic numbers, and the ethnic numbers do not have a rational mind. They just know that this is the boat that we are taking as a tribe, and we are going this way all the way to the wire. Look at some of the people, and I agree with Mark here, that on both the Jubilee and the NASA side, there are very intractable corruption issues. You will find that there are people running for governor, for example, who have been caught right in the mud, and the tribe has not bothered. Some of them, the tribe gave very resounding numbers in the primaries, if those primaries are to be believed. And therefore, tribe is the only issue.
Barack, real quick, NASA says they are going for the 10 million voter mark. Is that realistic? Especially knowing that in the last election, Raila Odinga only got 5.3 million. Could they have doubled in 5 years?
These are things that you flag up, and you try to use them as kind of rushes to try and mobilize people, to sort of make people a little excited, because if you are to look at what Jubilee has been talking about, 70%, it also sits very well within the same area. In fact, assuming that there is a turnout of about 80-90%, the two sides will be talking about virtually the same figures. So realistically, it depends on how they are going to be able to electrify the electorate and get it to come out to vote.
Vincent Kimasop, let me go to you now and ask you, how defining is this election? Is this the last one of the last of the Mohicans? You know, the people we've been used to for the last 50 years. Is this the defining stage?
Jeff, if you remember that we have had, and allow me, I don't know if you speak Swahili, there is a cliche word that has been used, the risasi moja narrative. You also have Uhuru Kenyatta, who is running. Of course, our constitution says that the president only has a 2-term limit. So you have, for example, at independence, the Kenyatta and Odinga, vice president and the president, and then now their sons having more or less the last battle royale. And I know very clearly that, as in, of course, they have their democratic rights, they are Kenyans, and they should not be vilified because they are sons of two great statesmen. But nonetheless, analysis allows us to look at the Odinga and the Kenyatta system. I would say that in this election, and that is why, when we talk, I think we should have the courage, if it was about issues. If you remember in 2002, Jeff, when Kibaki was running, free primary school education, there was even zero tolerance to corruption. There was the whole issue about good governance, building stronger systems. I can tell you, I've listened to all the rallies, and you can see very clearly those things take a peripheral position. Now, just look at even the way the campaigns are forming. You notice everybody first is strengthening their bases. If you have had a Jubilee rally in a NASA stronghold, 1 week later you see them going back to do what? To ensure that the damage is mitigated. If it was about issues, Brian, I work, you know very well, Brian, we was at Transparency when you were at Cradle, and we did a lot of work on GJ Law's program, where if it was about corruption, then you would not be worried to go and fortify your bases, because it is people will be rallying around those issues. So look at the opinion polls. You see very clearly when Uhuru Kenyatta was at 47 and Raila at 30. When NASA was formed, the numbers went up for Raila, and you can see very clearly the pattern was the numbers that supported Kalonzo and the NASA principles more or less went to what Baraka said, where your tribal kingpin is. That is where you see people moving. And for me, we should have the courage and the integrity to call it as it is, that that we need to move away from this tribal politics, and that comes by us admitting that we've done things wrong in the past, and now moving forward, what kind of generation? And really this is where, for example, the independent candidates, the Okuru Court, what is the name, Professor Wainaina, I think there's Dida, there are 4 others. That is the space they should be speaking to, and I will tell you, then it will lower the tempo on the other side. Unfortunately or fortunately, that seems not to be the case. Or if they are speaking, no one is giving them coverage. Maybe Jeff Koinange can see how to give that platform.
Listen to these people. No pressure.
Okay.
Okay, let me switch gears a bit and talk about money in this election, gentlemen. And I'm going to go to you, Brian, because I understand you have to rush in a little while. And since you work for democratic institutions, the monies we've been seeing, Brian, real quick. I mean, the helicopters alone, some candidates have 4 to their name. And on the other side, some have absolutely nothing. And yet we have 15,067 candidates in this race alone. Brian, where's the equality? Where's the equality here?
You know, Jeff, issues of money in elections are major issues. And issues of money are quite important. And it determines a lot of things as you campaign. You know, when I want Barack to know that I actually left the democratic institution. When I used to work for IEB, we really pushed for a campaign financing act, which act, again, Parliament watered down. You remember there was some ceiling that IEBC had actually put in place. Again, Parliament went ahead and scrapped them off. So again, issues to do with money in elections are quite pertinent, because if you look at this society that we live in, it is heavily determined by a lot of things, and one of those things is issues to do with money. As you pointed out, you see, and the 2 coalitions using a lot of money, and more so, some you see others using state machinery, state resources, and when you're looking at state resources, we're not only looking at the national resources as well as counties. Now, the other issue about which I have to respond to, issues to do with ethnic and how tribes will determine this election. Jeff, I want to put it very clearly. You know, Barack was my lecturer when I was starting, when we did a program called Political Leadership Development Program, and I admire him a lot. But when I listen to him say that this election is about tribes, it makes me wonder. And you see, again, when I listen to him saying that it will depend on how you electrify, it sounds like a constitution that gives with one hand and picks with another. Now, Jeff, issues of tribe are very important. However, it is not the only issue. This election will be won on how you would respond to issues to do with young people, issues to do with women, issues to do with corruption. Jeff, it is a very close election. And by the way, Jeff, if you are to do the numbers, let's be very honest, if you are to do the numbers based on tribal arithmetic, then NASA would win.
Mark Bichate, I think Brian should listen to his lecturer. What do you think, Brian?
Let the lecturer speak.
Let someone else speak.
All right, Bichate.
You know, the issue that Mr. Weke is struggling with is he's struggling between utopia and reality. You know, he's got his mind in the right place, but he's ignoring the facts on the ground. And the facts on the ground are that a lot of Kenyans are thinking on a tribal basis. And that plays into the money question in a big way, Jeff. Because the first thing that we need to understand about political parties in this nation, this is the only nation, I think, that I've been to where the money comes from the top to the bottom. Okay, our political parties do not raise membership fees in any significant manner. They are not funded by the masses. So what happens is whoever has money is the one who runs the party. Therefore, even after this election, don't bother finding out which family is going to be running for office. Find out where are these families going to invest their money.
Mark, let me ask you a quick question. Yes. Sorry, Kachi. Let me ask you a quick question.
Yes.
Boniface Mwangi, independent candidate for MP of Starehe.
Yes. I'm actually not.
His campaign was based on 10 shillings. Have you seen that? I don't know if you have seen it.
Yes, I've
He's
seen
been
it.
going around asking people give me 10 shillings, give me 10 shillings.
Yes.
He just crossed over the 1 million shilling mark.
Okay.
What chance does he stand?
Well, here's the thing. Boniface Mwangi is trying to do politics the right way, which is you're supposed to get your financing.
Is that the Brian Weke way?
Yes, that's a Brian Weke way.
Really?
Yes, because let me tell you, if a voter is willing to put his money to a candidate, he's most likely also to put his vote to the same candidate. Okay, but here's the issue, and this is why this Boniface Mwangi election is very, very, very critical. It's the first time we are seeing a candidate run on principles in a major constituency in this country. So it's important.
Mark, does he stand a chance?
To be honest with you, based on what I'm feeling on the ground, no.
Vincent Kimosop, does Boniface Mwangi stand a chance?
I asked somebody. I was doing an interview with a friend of mine, understanding the voter from Central Kenya, and this is what he told me, that that in Central Kenya we respond when you touch two things. Number one, when you touch our kings, our uzamakis, and when you touch our wealth. Let me tell you, just wait as we move towards the election. That volume of the uzamaki and the wealth will go up. And I can tell you already the trap is here. When the NASA presidential candidates talked about rent, that it will come down. Let me tell you, that day more votes were added, particularly around the base of Uhuru Kenyatta. So the challenge there for somebody like Boniface Mwangi is that he might become a casualty of these tectonic fights, that this change that you're preaching represents you are a threat to our kings and to our wealth. So I think right message, right approach. And by the way, Jeff, he is running not as independent, he's running on an Ukweli party. It's a fully registered political party. That is the Yellow People.
Yeah.
Now he is going to be a casualty of other forces beyond him.
Barack Muluka, do you agree?
There are just two things that are going to count, and in fact allow me to say that what we are witnessing is not about elections, it's about auctions. We could very well say that we are having general auctions, and in these general auctions just two things matter. Number one, that you have got deep pockets. Number two, that these deep pockets are in the right tribal docket, and of course you attract the attention of the tribal fat cat. If you happen to be deep pocketed but you are not in the right books with the tribal kingpin, you are still in trouble. Does Boniface Mwangi have deep pockets? No, he doesn't. Is he on the right side of the tribal kingpin? No, he's not. So he's an exciting candidate and a good test case because as my colleagues here have said, he's doing his campaign the right way, saying the right things, positioning issues, but speaking to an electorate that does not listen to issues, and so he might very well be engaged in the dialogue of the deaf.
Okay.
The dialogue of
Gentlemen, you know, go on, Vincent, go on.
It's just exciting how to, you know, I wish Brian was still around, that we have the courage. The reason why we are speaking like this, Jeff, is because I have been in previous debates with my colleagues here. We desire a better Kenya. We desire a better approach to doing politics. But also, since we've gone to school, one of the things that we learn in school is that a true professional stands with the truth, however painful it is. That the truth of our elections, as we have gotten a new term, we will not have a general election, we are going to have general auctions. Jeff, if you go to an auction, I think you're a well-traveled person. If you have 10 million, when the hammer goes beyond beyond 10 million, you exit that market. Yep. When the hammer goes to 20 million and you have 15 million, you exit that market. Currently, why we are exiting the market of issues, the market of integrity, good governance, is because the people who are in the auction, they have the prices or are are higher on the ethnicity, ethnic mobilization. So there is no need. We will continue pointing out that we need men and women of integrity. We need Chapter 6 to be implemented. That is very important. But at the same time, the context in which we are in, that is not what is happening. So then that is a challenge to the next generation. That's why we are not, and you can see from our agreed position, we are giving chances to people like Boniface Mwangi that they are doing the right thing, they're raising new approaches. But also when you ask us a question, do they stand a chance? The chance they start is introducing new ideas into the fore. Abdu Badida in 2013 brought a new narrative about that you do not need to spend a lot of money for your issues to go, and you got a platform at the presidential level. Values, he is not won the vote, but he's been able to bring certain issues to the fore.
Absolutely, good
that
point.
That for me is how I see it.
Good point, Vincent, very good point. Gentlemen, let me switch gears a bit if you don't mind, and I'd like to bring in Otieno Namwaya. He is a researcher at Human Rights Watch. Otieno, welcome to the show. The topics are getting really hot and serious, but I'd like to switch to security, and in particular, violence against journalists. Is it on the rise in the run-up to this election?
Thank you, Jeff. One of the things that are concerning us most during this election period is actually a freedom of information and freedom of expression issue. One of the things we found for the last 5 years is that the media and bloggers have not had the freedom to discuss even some of the issues that should be informing this election.
Yeah, but they are still discussing other things, aren't they?
They are discussing, but in a muted way. When I was working in, I had one of the panelists talking about corruption. And corruption indeed is going to be an issue, and it should be an issue. But it cannot be an issue if, for example, some of the platforms that influence this kind of discussion, and that's the media and the blog posts, are not allowed to discuss these things freely.
Who's not allowing them? I don't agree with. I don't know, gentlemen. Do any of you agree with this? Because
let me explain.
Coming over the internet.
Let me explain. We did a piece of research starting last year, September, up to January this year. And one of the things we found is that those journalists who write about some of the most sensitive subjects in this country, and these sensitive subjects include, unfortunately, corruption, the land question, security issues, and of course the county governments for some reason are very vicious. Those journalists come under a lot of pressure, and one of the things that has been happening is that either they get beaten or they get threatened, they receive threats, or they are subjected under constant surveillance by security agencies. In some cases, media houses that have insisted on writing these issues have been subjected to some kind of economic pressure, which include either withdrawing advertisement or refusing to pay for the adverts that have already been published, and that's a very serious issue. Even Jeff, you might be aware that even Citizen has been a victim for that.
Okay. So, okay, gentlemen, Barack, real quick, the opinion polls that have been coming out, the media coverage of these elections so far. Your assessment, how would you think it's going?
See, the opinion polls do not help us very much. They have not been very good in teasing out issues. The pollsters, the media, we all seem to fall in one docket, that there is some kind of disconnectivity, in the sense that when you look at the media, and even pollsters in liberal democracy, one of their fundamental roles is agenda setting. That you expect that the media would itself be saying that for these elections, these are the issues that we should focus on. But we have had a media fraternity that is trailing the political class, following in their footsteps. Where they go, we go with them and we report.
Have they been let down, Barack?
And I say we because I also recognize that I'm a journalist by training, examination, qualification and commission. And so I do not exclude myself from that fraternity when I say that the media has failed. We learn that we are supposed to inform, we are supposed to editorialize, and we are supposed to set agenda. And when there is an election, we should not be hailing ethnic figures. We should be able to say that this is the agenda around which this election should be discussed and be determined. We don't do that.
Yeah.
The pollsters are also in the main just looking at individuals and going to areas which are basically tribal enclaves that they say in the Odinga stronghold. So basically saying in Luoland, in the Uhuru Kenyatta strongholds, basically saying in Kikuyu and central Mount Kenya. They are not helping to tease out issues that can then neutralize the tribe and give us a different agenda around which to hold the conversation for the election.
Mark Bichache, let's go back to the U.S. elections. And Barack talked about an agenda. It seems like all polls had indicated Hillary was taking this thing.
Okay.
Most polls, if not all. And journalists, media, the agenda was more or less critical of Hillary than Donald Trump. And then he won. Come on.
The American election, by the way, made me doubt my ability to analyze politics, because it was a quandary for many analysts. But looking back, and they say vision backwards is 2020, is this: the very same media that was criticizing Trump gave him around 70% more coverage than they gave Hillary. Why? Because Trump played into two things. Number one, he played into the fear of the nation. Number two, he was a very entertaining guy with his tiny hands. You know, he said, I know the best words, I have the best words. So he made the election about entertainment. Now, the moment he made the election about entertainment, Hillary is as dull as a log of wood. Okay, she cannot play to that gallery. She's too serious, she's too collected, she's got all her issues together, while Trump had none. And therefore the gimmicks that Trump did brought out a certain voter in the states which the pollsters were not polling. These are the guys who are in the Midwest, who've been jobless for ages, who still believe that coal is the most important form of energy in the world. So these guys are the guys who surprised the pollsters. They came out of the woodwork and voted. The second part is, and this is also the problem in Kenya, there's these people called the middle class who are consumed by consumerism, whose activity in life is to buy a house and basically the closer a good car. This class of people are always the ones who mislead politicians, and that's the issue. They didn't turn out to vote in the numbers that they needed to do in places like New York, Los Angeles, and places like that. And it's the same thing in Kenya. With the guys who talk about corruption wear suits and go to Java, but the guys who go to Njengo and eat githeri outside are the ones who go and vote. So that's really where the issue is.
Absolutely. Good point. Good point.
Yeah, but before you go away, you just look at the pollsters, see what has just happened in the UK. A few days ago, they were expecting that Theresa May was going to carry the day resoundingly. Now she's ending up in a parliament.
And Barack, they were saying the Labour was gaining, but they didn't say it could beat or lead to it didn't say. They were all favoring Theresa May. And by the way, Vincent Kimasaw, at the end of the day, with that election in the UK, when the analysts go back and look at the election or the run-up, is security going to be a big factor there? Because the two attacks, Manchester and London, in Europe, there's so much insecurity in general. Is that going to be a factor? And will it be a factor in the Kenya election? I'm an economist, and one of the things we do, polling research, is our background. The U.S. elections actually more or less challenge fundamentally the theories that inform polling. And I can tell you currently professors, people have gone back to really what is it that we need to do to make polls more accurate.
electorate. And there is something called proxy indicators, Jeff, that if you read polls, for example, the ones that came from Ipsos recently, you can also look at what are the other proxy indicators that more or less show you how things are. And for me, the reason nomination is an example, where people will commit to a place whereby they know their chances of winning is high. And you saw which parties got a lot of money through the nominations. That was an indication of popularity of political parties. So if you corroborate the two, you more or less have an indication on the direction or the narrative is developing on the political front. When I look at Theresa May's case, when she announced that we're going to have a snap election, I think the Manchester, the reason London issues were not on the fore. Now what happened is that human beings tend to, we respond to our insecurities. She did not come out strongly as I don't know how, there is something in people in the media tell us, makeover, you know, a strong person, somebody, you know, towering. If you remember George Bush, and let me use the example of George Bush and John Kerry in 2004. John Kerry, brilliant, he understood the economics, he would connect with the different audiences, but the challenge was when it came to the issue of security, people say he's not strong enough. So what George Bush said, he only said one thing in one final rally: you do not change a government when you are at war. I'm the one who knows the commanders on the ground, I'm the one who understands the issue, I will keep you safe. And let me tell you, with all the qualifications of George Bush, which are outside there, what happened? He was re-elected. Not only re-elected, re-elected with the majority. I want to say that if the people who were packaging Theresa May positioned her as a strong Margaret Thatcher, that we will go for them, we are, let me tell you, this, you would actually, she would have gotten maybe a clear majority and know the situation that we are in.
Yeah, good point, gentlemen, good point. Let me come back to you, Otieno Namwaya. Coming back to journalists and us covering this election, what needs to be done? What can we do to turn things around? Or is it too late with less than 8 weeks to go?
Jeff, sometime last week we had a very good meeting with the senior police officers at Jogo House. And one of the things we discussed is what role the police will be playing in this election period in terms of protecting both the journalists, the media, and of course the politicians themselves also need to be free to be able to discuss these issues so that the citizens can also begin to engage with those issues and decide freely. And the police appreciated the fact that one of the things that need to happen is that police need to be able to protect, respond as quickly as possible when these cases are reported, where possible investigate and probably prosecute. One of the things that has been happening in the lead up to this period is that whenever these cases are reported to the police, there hasn't been any indication that police are in a hurry to want to investigate, and therefore the journalists have not felt like they are safe when they take on some of the most sensitive issues. So clearly one of the things that need to happen is some shift of approach from the side of the police.
Yeah, but you know what, at the end of the day, Kenyan journalists have never been afraid of anything. Well, some of the bravest journalists on the continent. So
that is the perception, but the reality is actually different. When we did talk to a lot of journalists, they were very clear that there are issues they can actually write about very freely, but there are issues which they themselves have to think twice before getting involved. And one of those issues is land, and the other is corruption. There is the Eurobond issue. There are many other corruption issues that are around that should have actually been dominating this discussion if it were in other countries. But that's not happening. Actually, that's why, in a way, it is looking that this election is going to be about tribe rather than the issues. Part of that is that the media and some of the people who should be bringing up these issues don't feel safe to bring them up as freely as they should.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it at that. This conversation can go on and on and on, but thank you so much for your time. Otieno Namwaya, Mark Bichache, Barak with the 2 R's, Muluka, and of course, Vincent Kimosov. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time. Let's keep talking. Less than 8 weeks to go before the general election. Since the next level is going to take a quick break, come back. We are live in 2 locations. The Jubilee Rally in Eldoret Town. We're going to be there live with Jackie Maribe, and also in Wundanyi, NASA, Pentagon is there. We're going there live with our very own Sam Gituku. Don't go away. Stay with us. This is the Next One. Takes a break. We'll be back. in a moment.